Hare Krishna, dear devotees. My name is Madhavananda Das, and this is a skinny of a presentation we gave yesterday about the secret of Krishna's appearance. And it's based on Gopal Campu and Ananda Vrindavan Campu, and speaks about who's really Krishna's mother. So we're going to try to do this in just 10 minutes or so, a very quick presentation. So, to begin this discussion about the appearance of Krishna, we were speaking about how Kamsa, what is his role in all of this? Kamsa, according to Bhaktivinoda Thakur, represents the head of mundane religion. And as the head of mundane religion, he wanted to support the devotees. He wanted to support religious activities like marriage. And therefore, he offered to personally drive the chariot for Devaki and Vasudeva at the time of their wedding. And then we know that when he was driving that chariot, there was an Akashvani, a voice from the sky, which told him, Kamsa, you fool, the eighth child of Devaki will kill you. And then Kamsa threw away his religious pretension and went to kill Devaki, his own sister. So a question is raised that how is it that the demigods are giving advice to Kamsa to go and kill innocent babies? And the answer from one commentary on the Bhagavatam, very nice answer, is that Kamsa had already become so powerful, he defeated all the demigods. And the demigods were thinking, now look, he's about to do Vaishnav Seva. And if he does this Vaishnav Seva, driving around Vasudeva and Devaki at the time of their wedding, who knows how powerful he's going to become, because Vaishnav Seva is such a powerful thing. So on one hand, with the appearance of Krishna, we have Kamsa, but on the other hand, we have Vasudeva and Devaki and the residents of Vrindavan. We spoke also something from our Bindu magazine, 3 different reasons why people observe the Janmastami Brata. This is from the Hari Bhakti Vilas, and Sanatana Goswami says there that people perform this Brata for 3 different reasons, one of which is that they have some personal desire, some personal motivation. They want something from it. He says, Nityatvam chaparam tasya bhagavat prinanam matam virivakya visesascha karane pratyavayata. That first of all, some people do it because bhagavat prinanam, it's pleasing to the Lord. Secondly, some people do it because virivakya visesascha, it's enjoined by Shastra to do. And thirdly, some people do it because you'll get some sin if you don't. And we discussed how Sanatana Goswami in Hari Bhakti Vilas, he gives about 20 verses speaking about the terrible results you're going to get if you don't observe Janmastami, if you drink water or anything. And he says that if you eat on Janmastami, you get the same result as eating a human being. If you eat anything on Janmastami, you get the reaction of eating all the sins in the 3 worlds. If you eat even a tiny bit on Janmastami, you'll be tortured by the Yamadutas after death. If you eat anything on Janmastami, it'll take 100 generations of your ancestors and 100 generations of your future offspring to hell. So these are good reasons to observe Janmastami. And then he offers another 20 reasons about the glorious benefits of following Janmastami. He says if you do this, you become free from sinful reactions committed in 7 lives. You'll get good children, good health, lots of money. You won't have to fear enemies. You'll get proper rainfall. You won't have to fear from hellish conditions, snakes, disease, or attacks of thieves. So we then commented how these correspond with 4 different reasons why Bhaktivinoda says in Chaitanya Sikshamrita why people worship the Lord, which those 4 reasons are Bhaya, Asa, Karta, Vibhuti, and Rag. First of all, there's Bhaya. Someone worships the Lord out of fear. And so similarly, some people, they observe Janmastami because if I don't, man, I'm going to really burn in hell. The second reason why someone worships the Lord is asha, according to Bhaktivinoda. That's to satisfy some material desire. And again, Sanatana Goswami gives so many reasons. If you do this, you can become Indra, you can get good wife, good children, so many things. The third reason he gives, Bhaktivinoda gives for worshiping the Lord is similar to what Sanatana Goswami says, where Bhaktivinoda speaks about kartibya buddhi, that it's a sense I have the sense of duty, I must do this for the Lord. That's due to Shastra. And then the fourth is out of rag, out of a desire to please the Lord. So the devotees, we want to worship the Lord for the Lord's pleasure. That's our purpose. We're not interested in doing for all these other particular reasons. And then we spoke something from our recent issue of Bindu magazine, Krishna Katamrita Bindu, issue number 479, also from the 5th chapter of Hari Bhakti Vilas, which is a discussion from the Uttarakhanda of the Bhavishya Purana, where Yudhishthira Maharaj asked Krishna, please tell us, how did this Janmastami festival start? And Krishna tells him a story then. And he says that after the wrestling match was over in Mathura, then Devaki entered into the arena and she put me on her lap and she started crying, my dear son, my dear son. And Vasudeva came and was so happy. And seeing the happiness of my parents, everyone else became happy. And they said, Krishna, please, you tell us, what was the day that Devaki gave birth to you? Because we want to have a great festival in your honor. And so then Krishna began to explain to them what was the tithi and the time of Janmastami. It was at midnight. And who should observe that? And he said, everybody should observe this thing. Anyone, he says, Asta Varshadi Ko Bhala. Any children who are over 8 years old and above, they should observe Janmastami. And they should do it during the month of Bhadra on this particular day. And he says, when you do it, you should have a great festival and honor Devaki also, my mother. Because that's the nature of a parent's day. You should give respect to the mother. She did all the hard work on that day. And Krishna says, so this Janmastami festival should also be out of respect to Devaki. Sanatana Goswami comments in that verse, saying that the word Bhagavatyaha, goddess there, may refer to either Devaki or to Durga Devi. And that on that day, you may also observe worship of Yogamaya, because Yogamaya is the sister of Krishna. So then we turn to the Gopal Campu, and we heard how the residents of Vrindavan were feeling so very, very sad because Nanda and Yasoda didn't have a son. In the Brijbasi tradition, sometimes it's said that Yasoda was 90 years old when she gave birth to Krishna. And Nanda Maharaj was 95 years old. Of course, that was in Dwapara Yuga, where people lived for an average of 1,000 years. So 90 or 100 years old wasn't the end of the world, but still, they weren't so very young. According to Jiva Goswami and Gopal Campu, there was a solidarity amongst the ladies. They weren't envious or critical of Yasoda because she hadn't given birth to a child. Sometimes in India, when a woman doesn't have a child, people, they spurn her, they criticize her. But all the ladies in Vrindavan, Jiva Goswami says, to show solidarity and support to Mother Yasoda, they all gave up wearing their ornaments. And they were crying because Yasoda had no son. And they stopped wearing their ornaments until Krishna's appearance. And one day, Mother Yasoda and Nanda Maharaj, they had a private talk. Nanda Maharaj told his wife that everyone is wanting to do some sacrifice for us to have a child. And I've also been thinking about this, and something keeps coming to my mind. I keep having this vision of a beautiful young boy. And Mother Yasoda says, well, tell me, what does he look like? And Nanda Maharaj says, I see this beautiful boy with dark complexion and big eyes. I see him playing on your lap, and your breasts are pouring forth milk. I don't know if it's a dream or if I'm awake. And it's an interesting point because in the beginning, before they began to do their brata or their austerities to get Krishna as a child, they had this vision, they had some conception. So similarly, when we want to begin a journey, our journey begins with a conception. It begins with the desire. I want to go to India. Why do I want to go to India? What do I want to get from that? And then from that desire comes some form that we want to make money. We're going to make particular plans. So in the beginning of their conception, they had this vision of Krishna. And what was that vision? He didn't see Krishna alone. He saw him. Nanda Maharaj saw Krishna with Mother Yasoda. He saw him with a devotee, and he saw Krishna with service, that Mother Yasoda was offering her breast milk. And the Mother Yasoda said, this is amazing. I had the same vision in my mind, so what should we do? And they decided we should do some brata on the Dwadasi day. And so when they did this for 1 year, and then they had a vision again. The Lord Narayan came to them in a dream after 1 year and said, don't worry, that the Lord is going to appear as your son. And it was the next morning they woke up and everyone understood that Mother Yasoda was pregnant. Now, how did the Lord enter the devotees? It said in the Bhagavatam, the 10th canto, chapter 2, text 16, Avivek Sangsa Bhagena Mana, that Krishna entered the mana, or the mind, of Vasudeva and was transferred from the mind of Vasudeva to the mind of Devaki. That's described a few verses later in text 18. But it's described in the Gopal Campu. It said that Mother Yasoda had this vision, and she saw a beautiful child who Braja Raja Hridayan, Nija Hridayan, Pravishya, was being transferred from Nanda Maharaj's heart to her heart. And she saw that beautiful boy was covered by a golden girl, and the girl entered into her womb. And so this was right before Mother Yasoda became pregnant. And this is how Krishna came to Nanda and Yasoda, as opposed to Vasudeva Krishna, the four-armed expansion of the Lord, how he came to Vasudeva and Devaki. He came to their mind, but Krishna came to the heart of Nanda and Yasoda. At that time, it said that Mother Yasoda, she started craving for certain foods, very unusual foods. Jiva Goswami says, Tulsi Samskrita Grita Yuk Sasitam Sita Kanti Gandhi Paramanan. That because Krishna had entered into her womb, into her heart, she wanted to eat rice with camphor that was soaked in ghee with sugar and had tulsi leaves on the outside of it. Meanwhile, Balaram appeared from the womb of Rohini, and although Rohini gave birth, people were happy, but there was also some sadness. There was kind of a dullness. And Balaram, although he was a beautiful little baby, he wasn't so happy until he would sit on the lap of Yasoda, who had Krishna in her heart. And at that time, Balaram became very, very happy. So it's said by our acharyas, and Prabhupada also mentions in the 10th canto of the Bhagavatam in the purport, that Krishna, his avirbhav, his appearance, was in the prison of Kamsa. And he appeared there with 4 arms and a crown on his head. When someone just bang appears in the room, it's a very astonishing thing. And probably it was a good thing that he wasn't born from the womb of Devaki, that he just appeared, because you can imagine, ladies, if someone takes birth from your womb with a metal helmet on, and he's got a club in one hand and a Sudarshan chakra in another, it might be a little awkward. So he just appeared in the prison of Kamsa. But Krishna's birth, his Janma Leela, took place in Braj, and that's a very private thing. Jiva Goswami says, Vina Suti Pratityacha Prasutoso Yasodaya. That Yasoda, when she gave birth, she was asleep. She didn't even wake up for the birth. At that time, it said all the different stars showed their best aspects. The ocean, who was a friend of the clouds, began to roar. The jasmine flowers blossomed. The Ketaki flower, which of the summer season, blossomed along with the Ketaki flowers of the spring. The lotus flowers blossomed along with the night blooming lilies. And everything was very, very auspicious. And it describes the beauty of that baby Krishna. Mother Yasoda, as we said, she was asleep when Krishna was born. And she woke up hearing a baby cry. And then looking over and seeing the baby whose body was covered with her amniotic fluid, she saw her own reflection on Krishna's newborn body. And Yasoda at that time became frightened. Vasudeva and Devaki became frightened also when they saw that Krishna had appeared and they began offering prayers. Yasoda became frightened, but for a different reason. She saw her own reflection in the body of Krishna, and she thought, it's a witch who's come. Mother Yasoda didn't offer prayers to Krishna at the time of his appearance. And it's said that Nanda Maharaj, when he heard about the birth, and immediately he performed the Jata Karma Samskara for his child. That's the samskara which happens at the time of birth. And he invited all the Brahmins. And this is described in the 5th chapter of the 10th canto. And it's interesting, it's mentioned there particularly, Vachayidva Svasti Ayanam, that he requested the Brahmins to chant all these mantras, and then after they chanted the mantras, then he gave them charity. And sometimes we've commented how sometimes devotees, they invite some sadhu, a saintly person, to come to their home to give them some prasadam or some sannyasi. But we mentioned how when devotees invite us, and I know the same thing from many sannyasis, they don't like to go. And I tell people, look, I have a policy, I won't go to your home unless we have some kirtan and a little bit of Krishna kirtan. So Nanda Maharaj understood that the pleasure of the Brahmins was to do these ceremonies and chant these mantras, and then after they did their service, then he offered some charity to them. The Bhagavatam, 5th chapter of the 10th canto, 2nd verse says, Jata Karmatma Jasyavai, that Nanda Maharaj arranges Jata Karma Samskar. And Prabhupada comments on this. He says that the Jata Karma Samskar is when the umbilical cord connecting the child and the mother is cut. And so this shows that Krishna is actually the son of Mother Yasoda. And the same description is given in Brahma Vaivarta Purana. Nadi Chedane Kartanim Dhatri Swarupam Naram Cha. That the Naram, or the midwife, came and she cut the umbilical cord. So as we commented, unless that umbilical cord was really long and went all the way across the Jamuna River to Mathura and to the prison of Kamsa, it's proof positive that Krishna is actually the son of Mother Yasoda. So this was the skinny of our katha the other day, and I hope all the devotees have a very wonderful, happy Janmastami festival. Hare Krishna. Vanchakalpadribhishcha, Kripasindhubheva cha, Patitanam Pavanam